I'm about to do the exact same thing all over again. You get it. There you go. That's another few days of me working. I actually spent 6 full days in my paint shop, 12-hour days. I mean, I just have been trying to get all my paint stuff going. That's where the real talent and the money and the time is all that paint work. And it's crazy when that momentum that goes into keeping that going stops. It's a lot to get going again. It's so bad. This is why actually, you probably saw me in there giving my son a haircut real quick. My oldest son had been after me for like 2 weeks. He's like, hey, can you give me a haircut? Can you give me a haircut? And I'll be like, yeah, man, I'll do it when I come in before I take a shower, because I don't want to be covered in hair or whatever. And every night I'd come in at like 9 or 10, I'd covered in paint, and I'd be like, nah, not tonight, dude. So I was wiping some fiberglass filler, and that fiberglass filler, it hardens incredibly slow. So I was like, dude, now's a good time. Just come out here. I'll give you a haircut right out there in the paint shop, and we'll move on. So that's what that is. We did that. And a lot of good things happened, though. I took my Indiana Jones cabinet. You probably saw me stain and pearl and clear in a previous video. I took that out of there and put that here in my assembly room. I'm not quite ready to tackle that yet. I got a little bit of maybe like a writer's block. And the only reason for that is because I didn't even plan on doing that. I just started doing it. I was like, okay, yeah, that's off to a good start. Now what? I don't know. I'll figure it out. So I put that down here for safekeeping right now. I don't want that in that environment with overspray and all these different colors being painted. Even though I've got safer spots in there compared to other spots, it's still not a good environment for it. So I brought that down here, let it sit until I get back to it, and put my red, white, and blue cabinets in the mix. I hopefully will have my red, white, and blue games done before the 4th of July. That's my plan. The Evel Knievel and the Freedom, they're like identical in colorway. So the only difference is the Evel Knievel gets little specks of gold, and the Freedom gets little specks of red spit all over it. It's basically what it comes down to. You do that for authenticity. I don't have to do that. They're basically just kind of covering flaws. I don't think they're like doing it for look. I think they're doing it because they know if they spit these patterns on there that you can't pick up on wood grain and things like that. Not that they're super worried about it, but it's just a manufacturing thing. It's just something they do in order to basically camouflage flaws. But if you want to have a more authentic restoration or build, they need to be on there. So put those on there. Now the guy that owns that Evel Knievel, he wanted it to say Butte, Montana on the tank. And I couldn't quite fit on the tank, but I put it right below the tank on what I think is the cylinder head. That was the best fit for it without ruining the whole thing, right? So I did that. Both of those are actually painted antique white. Like you might think, oh, they're white, but they're not quite white. If you really pay attention in the video and you look at me walking around them, you'll see they're a little bit more cream color than the walls of my spray room, which are basically stark white. So you can tell by looking at that comparison how much they're not just bright white. And I don't know, so that's where that went. Oh, I got my Freedom Playfields back. Now the reprinted original, yeah, I'm not too crazy about that. Nothing against the person that did it for me, has nothing to do with them, but it looks like exactly what I thought it was gonna look like. It looks like an old piece of wood with a brand new print on it. And as a result of that comparison, the brand new Playfield that they built me, that looks a lot better. That looks almost perfect. I need to clear them both, and I need to rework the original Playfield, to rework some of the wood grain and just do some different things. But without a doubt, the new Playfield looks the best out of the two. And so we'll work those both, but ultimately I'm sure the new Playfield will go in there. And even besides the print, actually just that nice new Playfield that doesn't have the chewed up delaminating wood on the underside of it. Even the underside of it, it was trash. So it just makes for a better fit to use the new Playfield. I like new shiny objects. I'm not a purist in any kind of way. I can do purist work, but I've seen and done enough of this for so many years that I know that that's kind of like fool's gold. A lot of times original things are the things that fall apart the fastest after you try to resurrect them, whereas at least if you start out with something new, you're getting a new set of downs. That's what it comes down to. But I think that's it. I guess that's everything. I think I covered all the bases. If not, you can just let me know. And I know the videos can be kind of random. Sometimes it's shop noise, sometimes it's music, sometimes it's both. It's just because sometimes it just depends on what's going on in the background, like what the sounds are, what's going on. That's why I do things the way I do them. And if you like the videos, definitely give them a thumbs up. You're just watching me work, but at times it can be interesting, sometimes more interesting than others. And we'll see what we get into in the next one.